What's going on, everybody? It's EricRayweather back here, and in today's video we're going to be going over the top issues in Madden 19, what should be addressed for Madden 20. We're actually going to do this by looking at a tweet by one of the developers for the game. He put this out last week. He said, "What's your top issue that must be addressed for gameplay? Rage tweets welcome." So when I saw him tweet this out, and I started seeing it get a lot of traction, as you can see, it's got 300 plus replies to the tweet. I said to myself, I'm going to let these kind of build up, and then I'm going to go through, kind of review them, give my take on them. You know, what are some good things in here? What are some things that maybe aren't as big of an issue? And then, you know, add in some of my own. And this is good. I like seeing this now. Keep in mind, this doesn't mean that just because EA is reaching out to the community and you know, wanting that first-hand feedback, it doesn't mean all this stuff's going to be addressed. I think that's unlikely to believe that, but I think it is at least good that they are trying to go to the source and say, you know, what are some problems you have with the game that must be addressed. And when I see the phrase "must be addressed," to me, I like to look at that and say, well, they will address a lot of this for Madden 20, because he asked what must be addressed. Now, like I said, I don't expect everything, but you know, let's look through it and let's see what people are saying. You know, let's see if we agree with some of these things or disagree. So we're just going to scroll through and talk about some things. You're going to probably see a lot of comments come up that, you know, are, you know, echo exactly how you feel about the game, as I know I will as well. So first one here from Deuce Close. He's actually got a YouTube channel as well. He says, "The weak hook curl player in a cover 3 assignment against 3x1 formations is sometimes too aggressive on underneath crossers. It's unacceptable stuff." I agree. I think hook zones and curl zones in general just haven't been the greatest in Madden for a while now. Some years they're better than others. Specifically in cover 3, a lot of the hook zones don't really, they don't play right. They don't match the routes that they're supposed to match and kind of carry them to the sideline, or even if they do, they're very delayed and late with it. And a lot of times it's very easy to get these type of zones to bite down and suck underneath more so than they're supposed to be. So I definitely agree with that. I think that's a little bit more of a nitpicky one, just because they're definitely like really bigger issues with gameplay. That is definitely a very, you know, serious issue in terms of defense, but I think something like that, at least, you know, good players can kind of mask that a little bit and kind of make up for it, but it's definitely something that's been a problem for a while. Just zone defense as a whole needs to kind of be cleaned up. The matching needs to be a little bit better with the defense. They need to stay where they're supposed to stay and match what they're supposed to match more consistently than they have been, and I think the game is working towards that, which is good, but still a ways to go. Here is Hope. He's another EA game changer. He says, "Guys feel stiff in space." He said, "It's hard to describe. But in the older games, you just had more agility to make guys miss in the open field." And he also added that the catch animations on screens are bad. It kind of ruins a lot of the screens. So I kind of agree with both. I think guys do feel a little stiff in space, especially with the real player motion. It really changed a lot of things. You used to definitely have more freedom in the open field to outstick your opponent, but now, especially not just with guys being a little more stiff, but with the two-man animations being so powerful in Madden now, meaning if I juke or if I spin, you're going to get sucked into an animation regardless. It kind of takes a lot of the stick skill out of it, especially from a defender standpoint, because if you get sucked into an animation, there's nothing you can do. But then there's other times where maybe the animation doesn't trigger, but you actually are in good position to outstick your opponent, but because of the stiffness, it makes it hard to do that. So you're kind of relying on the two-man animations to trigger. So I agree with that. Definitely, they need to just clean up the open field running, and just your players in the open field in general just needs to be smoother. I feel like it's kind of long overdue for that, and I think they tried to move towards that real player motion, but it didn't quite work out how they planned. And then as far as the catch animations on screens, they've been bad for, I mean, forever now. Throwing screens in Madden used to be such a big thing, you know, in the PS2 days, in the early 360 days, or PS3 days. You know, if your opponent called the wrong defense and you hit them with a screen, I mean, you could really pick up serious yards. But now, especially outside wide receiver screens, I mean, the majority of the time that you try to throw a wide receiver screen, the guy will catch it and immediately go backwards, and then he'll go backwards for like 2 to 3 yards, have to turn around, so you're automatically putting yourself at a loss. and you're allowing the defense time to react, and a lot of times these screens don't even go for positive yardage. Bubble screens, like he said, are really the only ones, because the way that screen runs, they automatically kind of get a run upfield when you throw it, but regular wide receiver screens are terrible, and even halfback screens, a lot of times they just get really weird animations that kind of make it you know, hard to actually move upfield, which is like the exact opposite of what you're trying to do. Here is Smitty. This is another game changer. He said, we need to see all zone coverage become man coverage on plays. Way too often we see DB standing around covering grass, leaving huge holes on the field regardless of the play calling. And then someone replied to that and said, so you want a playbook full of match coverages? And then Smitty comes back. He says, well, how often do you see secondary just cover grass with little to no movement in the NFL? And the other guy responds back. He says, not often, but asking for all zones to convert to man like that isn't asking for, it's asking for trouble. So I agree with both guys here. I think not necessarily that I want to see every zone coverage turn into man, but that is kind of where you hope to get one day, where, you know, when you're playing zone coverage, for the most part, now there are some exceptions to that, but for the most part, you're not just going to stand and cover grass past a certain point. Past a certain point, you're reading what your, you know, responsibility is. No matter what your zone is, you still have a responsibility. You know, if this receiver breaks this way, you're supposed to take him, or if this receiver breaks that way, you're supposed to kind of take him. And we don't see enough of that. We're seeing that happen more now. We have like cover 4 quarters in the game. We have cover 3 match. But we also see, even in cover 2 and cover 3, certain hook zones or mid-read zones will match certain crossing routes because that's their responsibility. But asking for all of the zone defenses to match all the time and to turn into man is kind of asking for trouble. I agree with the other guy, because it's still AI at the end of the day, and the AI is only so good, and we're not completely there yet. And if you make everything turn into match coverage, you're making it a little bit too easy to take advantage of it too. So I think for now, you definitely need zone coverage that pretty much just kind of spot drops and plays its area. You know, certain matching in certain spots for like certain hook zones and stuff like that. But I think asking it to just go all out man, you know, past a certain point is asking for trouble, because we're not there yet. Now, when we get there, sure, but I don't think we're even close to that yet. I wish we were, but I just don't. I think realistically we're not, and I think that would be too easy to take advantage of, just like the other guy was kind of alluding to there. But that is what you would like to see eventually, because even when you're playing zone, like I said, in a lot of scenarios, at a certain point, it's your responsibility to man up and take the guy coming into your area, or taking a guy that's breaking a certain way. That's your responsibility to kind of sell out and stop him. And this is part of the reason why certain routes are so hard to guard, Madden, deep crossing routes or certain post routes, because the zones don't match them correctly. They kind of just stay to an area, and if the crossing route or the post route is running to that perfect area of the field where that zone is not going to drop past, that's why you see crossing routes that beat literally every coverage in the game, because there's no zone that's matching it or matching it properly and being able to cut it off at a certain point. So even if you call the right coverage, that route's still getting open because there's too many zones kind of just standing and covering grass. So I definitely agree with both those guys there, but I think we got to take that one slow, take that a step at a time. Here is Sim Football Critic. That is another EA game changer. He says, halfback screen blocking. The logic and targeting needs big time improvements. The blockers should be looking for a target, not allowing a DN or a linebacker to undercut all of them repeatedly. I definitely agree with that. Halfback screens, we just talked about screens in general, have just been bad in Madden for a while now. Halfback screen blocking is terrible. Too often you'll see one defender be able to shoot right through the line of blockers and hit your running back in the backfield when you actually called the right play. You got a 3-on-1, and no matter what you did, you lost yards because your line just, you know, just blocking in general. It isn't just a screen problem. It's blocking in general. The targeting in the open field is terrible, not just on screens but on run plays. You see guards and fullbacks that pull, and they have a linebacker right in their sights, and they kind of just either peel off and go backwards, or they run right past the linebacker and go up to the safety, leaving you to get tackled by the linebacker when they should have taken the linebacker and, you know, left you to go one-on-one with the safety, because that would have ensured that you got more yards. So I think this isn't necessarily just a screen thing. It definitely hurts in the screen game, but just the logic of the target blocking in general has just been bad in Madden for a while. It's really bad this year. So that's, if there was one big thing so far that we've covered that I would like to see fixed, it's the target blocking the most, for sure. Here is young Cecil. He said, Playbook, so many good formations in the game that have terrible routes. There's a reason Pat Sale gets ran all game by people. The post is really good. No other formation has a post that good, or even a deep crosser. The Pats and West Coast bunch are so good because they attack all areas of the field. There needs to be a deep, medium, and shallow routes that go, that originate from both sides of the formation. For example, gun wide trips has no crossing route from the solo wide receiver. He says, you look at the top routes in the game right now: Pat Sale, Pat's curl flat, mesh post. They get ran so often, but there's no other formations in the game that has those routes. If that post from Pat Sale was in wide trips, you would see people run it. And then Master Gamer was doing some replies to him. Master Gamer is another game changer and competitive player. He said, I would also add that, it hurts when you have plays or you have certain formations that there's a tell. For example, looking at a formation like Pat's gun Y off trips, the play corners is practically unrunnable because due to the fact that the solo wide receiver lines up further inside compared to all of the other plays in the formation. So you would know if someone's running that play because it lines up differently. So overall, this is basically just about playbooks and plays. Now, I agree and disagree with this. Now, I agree because what they're saying is definitely true. There's a reason people run certain plays in certain playbooks, is because the routes that they have, like the gun bunch in the Patriots playbook and the gun bunch in the West Coast playbook, are better than all the other gun bunches in the game because you can attack literally every area of the field, and most formations don't have that, and that's what you want. So yes, you do need more playbooks to have some of these routes that are better, where you can attack all areas of the field to make them usable. When people say that routes, their formations or plays aren't usable, it's because they don't have good routes, or they don't have enough of the good routes and enough good plays to attack multiple areas of the field. And that's what you're trying to do in football, is make your opponent have to respect every area of the field, whereas some formations you just don't have to. So that needs to be better. But also, not that I disagree with anything, but what else kind of goes along with this is defense needs to be better too, because a route like the post in Pat Sale or the post in the mesh post play shouldn't be these unguardable, unstoppable routes. But again, that kind of goes back to where the zone defense is, how they spot drop and they don't match right. The Pat Sale post wouldn't be as dominant as it is if defense was better. It would work versus what it's supposed to work against, but it wouldn't work against literally every defense to where you have to manually guard it. And so it's kind of a two-part problem here. You definitely need more diversity in the playbooks, but you also need defense to be better so that you can't just run 2 or 3 plays all game because those routes are just so unstoppable. So it's really a two-part problem. I think the easiest fix is making the playbooks better, because the defense and the AI and the logic it's a much more complicated problem. So first, you need to just at least make more playbooks better, make more playbooks viable, make more plays viable, so you're not just seeing the same 3 plays over and over. But also, eventually, you got to get the defense better to where, that more formations are usable, because a lot of formations in this game aren't usable, and it's not all just solely because of the routes that are in the plays, but it's because the spacing in the game sucks. That's why everybody likes to run compressed sets like bunch. And I mean, you do have a lot of people that like to run trips tight end, but still, those formations give you the ability to really attack, to really stretch the field, whereas spread formations and stuff like that in Madden, they don't really work as well. Or like, a gun doubles formation, they don't work as well as spreading the field, because the spacing in Madden has been a problem forever. So certain types of, we say that plays don't have good routes, but they don't have good routes relative to how Madden plays. It's not that the concepts that are in these formations are bad, or that the routes are necessarily bad. It's that the way Madden is currently and has been for a while, those routes and those, route combinations and concepts don't work how they should. And they just simply don't. So you have to make the spacing better, the game better, and then that would open up the playbooks more, because we only look at the game as being gun bunch right now, or just trips tight end, because those are the only formations that can really perfectly take advantage of how the game currently plays. So that problem right there, it's really a 3-part problem. It's defense, it's playbooks being bland, but it's also the game not playing like true football, and that's why some of these spread sets don't work like the sets that are popular. So the reason those other sets are popular is because it's the way the game is made right now. So that's like a really big problem right there, and all of that needs to be addressed. And I think the quickest thing would be just making playbooks better to at least create some diversity. But the other things are a little bit more longer, drawn out things that need to, be fixed. So we're going to go over a few more, and that's going to be it for this video, because I don't want to drag it on too long. This guy says, Nova Cryptic, he says, my biggest complaint recently is that every pick I get is always some crazy diving animation where I can't get up and catch it clean, and my guy stumbles immediately off the pick and falls down. Not to mention the camera flip on pick still sucks. Definitely agree with all of that. Not only just like the crazy diving picks, but I hate that sometimes your guy will go for a crazy diving pick and miss completely, and it's out of your control. Like, you'll try to click on and do a regular pick, but the guy will like get pulled into an animation beforehand, right before you click on, where he dives and he misses completely. And when that happens, it's almost always a touchdown because he can't get back up. He just misses everything. The camera on interceptions has been bad for a while. They've tried to make it better. They have made it a little bit better, but still it's just been a problem for a while. They need to really overhaul that whole thing. And the stumbling after interceptions as well, it just happens way too frequently. Scrolling down, let's see. Let's see. Okay, here's another one from Master Gamer. Like I said, a competitive player and game changer. He was talking about ball physics somewhere up in here, and basically saying the ball physics is overall just isn't good. Like when attempting to pick up fumbles, player interactions, players tripping over each other, you know, footballs going through players' bodies. Been a problem for a while. Like, you know, the ball's on the ground, players can't seem to just pick it up. They run past it, run over it. Like, you'll have 3 guys that have a shot at the ball, and they all just miss the ball or just stumble over each other, and then the offensive player who fumbled it comes out of nowhere to pick it up. That's just bad. It's been bad for a while. Ball going through players' bodies, players going through each other to get like interceptions. Been a terrible for a while. I mean, you'll see something get picked off, go watch the replay and say, oh, the guy went through half my body. He went through my torso to pick the ball. It should never happen. I had him boxed out. Maybe I should have dropped the ball, but it definitely shouldn't have gotten picked. Players always tripping over each other. Players, you know, on route sometimes just bumping into a defender and keep bumping into him and not being able to run his route because they just keep just knocking into each other. Or, you know, guys, you know, you send a running back out on a route and he trips over the offensive line and gets caught up. Just a lot of little dumb things like that that have just been a problem for a while. Definitely need to be fixed. Let's just scroll through here a little bit more. This guy right here says, catching traffic all around. Aggressive catches are overpowered even when 3 defenders are in the area. Yes, aggressive catches are one of the worst parts of the game this year. At this point, man, it's like aggressive catches and traffic should just pretty much be dropped. If it's one-on-one and you have the better player, the better wide receiver, then sure, they should catch that a decent amount of the time because it's a one-on-one. You have to make the one-on-one matter, but this catching it in double and triple coverage as much as it happens just needs to go. He also says tackling and end zone section players can have multiple feet in bounds or even tackle being down by contact isn't recognized by the game. I think that's just an issue that we've seen a lot this year. I would expect that to be fixed by next year. He goes on to say offensive line awareness. Players often run right by defenders in the open field. Pass rushing stats seem to be less important than the formation, which they use, like 4-3 normal, nickel normal, wide 9. And he also says that ID the Mike needs an overhaul. Running back pass protection is inconsistent. And then Dubby, who is a competitive player and a content creator, streamer, he adds on and says running back is terrible in pass protection. He should be the ID guy. Whoever you pick, he blocks. So most of that right there kind of goes with like stuff in the trenches. So offensive line awareness, yes, terrible. It's some of the worst that it's been this year. Like I said earlier, their targeting sucks. They let guys sometimes run right past them off the defensive line. Like just let a defensive tackle run right by them or a defensive end and don't even try to block them. And then, like he said, with the pass rushing stats, they don't seem to matter as much as the formation. 100%. You could run certain 4-down lineman formations just to get better block sheds, and it don't matter who you have there. Now, yes, if you have a better pass rusher there, I mean, it's a little bit better, but you could put guys there that are, you know, in the mid-70s, and they're still going to block shed pretty quickly because the formation... Block shedding in Madden in a pass rush is all about getting a one-on-one on the outside, and when you get that, it doesn't matter what your ratings are, you're going to block shed a lot quicker. Whereas if you're running a formation that doesn't get you the easy one-on-one and you have a 99 overall everything as a pass rusher, he's still going to get, you know, stonewalled most of the time because he's not in what's deemed a good formation for block shedding. So it kind of just makes the pass rushing stats useless, and you have to more so look for the formations to get pass rush and not necessarily having good players. And then, like he said, with ID the Mike and running back pass protection is horrible this year. Last year it was a lot better. last year was like one of the best years I could remember with running back pass protection. They did a really good job at sliding and recognizing blitzes and picking stuff up. Still could have used work, but it was a nice improvement. This year, it seems like it went 10 steps backwards. Running backs will literally just stand in the backfield and let a blitzer run right by him. He won't really look for work. He won't really switch sides often and pick up a weak side blitzer. You can ID the Mike, and the running back will let the guy literally run right past him and sack the QB. Basically like Dubby saying, if you ID the Mike, the running back should definitely pick that guy up every time, but he's just watching him come in. Running back pass protection is absolutely terrible. So that's going to be it. I mean, there's a lot more if you want to go here and read this. I'll link the tweet below, but those were some of the big ones, just kind of scrolling through there. I think all those things need to be fixed, but if I had to pick one of the main things going forward for next Madden, it would just be just blocking in general, offensive line awareness, targeting, lump the running back in with that, picking up blitzes better, being able to block better, not letting guys run right past you. But all of this is really good stuff. I would love to see all this addressed for Madden 20, or at least half of this stuff addressed. But what do you guys think below? Drop some of the problems you're having below. And as always, if you're new, don't forget to subscribe. And also, like I said, drop your comments. Like the video if you like it. And as always, I will see you guys next time.